Welcome to AG's Ace. This is the story of El Chapo, the mouse, and the US connection. Convicted drug kingpin Joaquin Guzman El Chapo is currently confined in a maximum security prison in Colorado. And he has now complained to the Mexican president to get him back home. Why? Because he says he's being treated very unfairly, he's being tortured, and he's being denied a lot of his rights as a prisoner. El Chapo is Mexican slang for shorty. He's just 5 feet 6 inches tall. The notorious narco-trafficker who was extradited to the US in 2017 has been in Colorado ever since. And his lawyer said that things are so bad that when his client had a toothache, prison staffers yanked his tooth out. Now, that is a bit hard to believe, but that is what is being said officially. He doesn't see the sun. The food is very bad, and there is no health care, his attorney said. Guzman, who was given a life sentence in 2019, is kept in isolation and has only been allowed a half dozen phone calls since March 2022. His lawyer has gone on record saying that. And they say that this is physical torture for the one-time boss of the Sinaloa cartel, the most dreaded drug cartel in the world. The Mexican presidency said it may consider his request. They are not officially turning it down, but considering his record and the impact that he has had on Mexico, it is highly unlikely that he would be sent back to home. Now, back in Mexico, his jailed eldest son, Ovidio, nicknamed the Mouse, was moved to a maximum security prison. And after his arrest, that triggered a huge outbreak of gang violence. The Sinaloa drug cartel in Mexico had turned one of the important cities there into virtually a war zone. Buses were burnt, cars were burnt, people were attacked, 29 people were killed. They even shot at planes landing at the local airport, and it is said that about 100 local flights were cancelled due to fear and apprehension, and schools were completely shut down. So this wasn't just a simple pushback. Now, the arrest of El Chapo's son was understood to be a gesture of goodwill towards the US and to show that Mexican efforts against the drug trade was continuing, but the violent pushback meant his extradition to the US was crossed out. So the Mexican presidency would go up to a point, but not beyond that. That was the message. Now, the US had put up a reward of $5 million for the arrest and conviction of the Mouse and his two other brothers. A little bit about the Mouse. He was brought up in a lap of luxury. His mother wanted her youngest son to move away from the family business, have a decent education, live a different life. But unfortunately, that never happened thanks to El Chapo. By the time he turned 18, he had assumed a very important role in the Sinaloa drug cartel. Two of his half-brothers had also been recruited into the cartel. Together, they were known as the Little Chapos. Now, most cartel leaders do not want their kids to be involved in the murky drug business. They want them to have a decent education. Some even send their kids to Harvard and Oxford. They spend a lot on their education, and for good reason, because El Chapo's eldest son, Edgar, was killed in a mob shootout in Culiacan in May 2008, when he was just 21 years old. So there is a price to pay. The Little Chapos are accused of overseeing approximately, and listen to this carefully, overseeing approximately 11 meth labs in the state of Sinaloa, producing an estimated 3,000 to 5,000 pounds of meth per month, which is huge, and this has come from the US State Department. Now, following the violence after arrest of the Mouse and his subsequent release, the Mexican president said, and this is a very important quote, he said, "The officials who took this decision did well. The capture of a criminal is not worth more than people's lives." So he was released after that, under the pressure. Now, the US connection behind all of this is very evident. On Jan 9, 4 days before President Joe Biden's trip to Mexico for a North American leaders summit, authorities in Mexico recaptured the Mouse. The violence wasn't a statement about Ovidio's capture. If they really wanted to go after the government and get him released, the cartel would have shot up government helicopters with missiles. So what was the message? What was being done here? Now, the main point is, according to experts, the violence was more of a warning to the government not to go any further and capture other cartel leaders. This was a signal to the government. The dramatic capture was little more than a piece of political theater for the benefit of Joe Biden. It was a message to the United States that we are not just sitting quietly here. It was a lot of noise because his capture does nothing for the drug trade except maybe to make drugs cheaper. Now, El Chapo's family are ultimately small nodes in a massive network, and that network would continue to churn, and nothing can be done immediately to stop that. So currently, the mouse is being held in a federal security prison in Mexico, while his illustrious father, El Chapo, rots in Colorado. Thanks for watching AG's.